Well, I can definitely say for this one that I might have slightly forgot that this episode even came out. So that would probably explain why this episode's a little late than the past two. Yeah, I think like for some of us that have been slightly excited for the series, I guess to say when it all came back to home and you're like, but Avatar though. Now, I will say this as well for this episode. I actually did enjoy this one. This one, for the most part, is just generally just straight up just table setting for this whole new arc. And I will say this much and all that. I don't think it's going to change my opinion on this arc whatsoever. Like, down to brass taxes here and all that. You know, you've heard me go on about how I feel about, like, this arc that's coming up, and especially as well with, like, all the final arc as well. Like, you know, I've gone on to fucking death about it. But I will say this. The anime, to me, at least anyway, and all that, like, I know, like, a lot of people feel the same as well. But, you know, different opinions, different strides and all that. The anime adaptations of Fairy Tail, I've always felt, have been better than the manga itself. I know it's normally the other way around for a lot of people. Like, I do hear some people prefer the manga over the anime, but I think, like, honestly, it, like, fleshes out a few things. It actually, the additional scenes that they do to certain things on there. And to be fair, some of the filler stuff that they've had in Fairy Tail, like, probably the one with the exception would probably be the, not the Key to the Starry Sky arc. It's the one where all the Eclipse, I think it was the Eclipse Celestials. That was the worst one. I definitely remember there was some stupid shit with that one, but like the other ones were like fine, like for the most part, even like filler arts and all that. Like, and the additional things that they did add, some of them were really good and all that. Like, I remember some good scenes from Tartarus, and then you get the really bad ones. And I feel like with this episode as well, with like it was pretty much just non-stop, just characters just talking, where it was like, okay, what have you been up to? What have you been up to? What have you been up to? And there was a little few things about like a certain few characters' relationships as well, and I feel like, especially with like, again, I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit, because the first episode spoils heavily of like, oh, I wonder what's happening with this character right now, and you clearly see that character fine, and those characters are back to normal, like, which we'll get into in a second. Like, alongside with, like, we've already had media like Dragon Cry, we've already had, like, all this stuff come out for the series, where it's like, yeah, we know what happens to these characters and what is going on with them, and it's like, yeah, again, like it's still from the context that maybe some people didn't watch that movie, or either or of the movies, so, like, again, so the whole general plot of this one is that they arrive at the Rain Village, which was being talked about. It's like, well, that's clearly got to be Juvia's there, and, you know, they had a little bit of Hugh hijinks there, where it's like, oh shit, we're half and half in the sun and the rain, and this is weird right now that it's all concentrated here. Then they see Juvia that's just out there staring into the distance, like she's just there, like just completely fucking out of it. You're like, whoa, you know, what's up with her and all that? That's what's going on. And she originally thought that it was Grey that was coming back, and that's why she got really excited. And then she still got really happy when she saw like Natsu and the others. She was like, oh, I mean, of course, you know, it's my girl, it's Julia, you know, my queen, my Ojo for this series, like. And I was like, you know, let's see what she's kind of been up to. And then she kind of pretty much immediately passes out, which then we find out is probably one of the more, like, I find this one interesting, like, especially with the character we see right at the stinger at the end of this episode as well, where it's like, it's interesting the fact that, like, how Grey and Julia's relationships kind of evolved after Tartarus, where it's like, they're still clearly not a couple at all, but, however, there has been huge strides in that, because of the fact that we get to tell, like, when Julia was explaining, like, what was going on with these two, where it's like, they spent a year together, like, in this little isolated little village place. Like, they trained together, they ate together. Julia was joking around, like, oh, they slept together, like, at some point, but he was like, no, he just kept kicking me out of the bed when I tried to make moves on him. Again, like, Grey is still not really heavily focusing on that kind of, like, thing with, like, Julia at the moment, is that he knows, like, because, again, Urza does mention that in the Grand Magic Games, where it's like, you need to actually start telling, and, like, even as well with Tartarus, is like, look at what this girl will do for you. Like, she adores you, she loves you, and it's like, either let her know you are not, like, you are not interested, like, stop playing, like, the hard to get. You need to actually say, I am not in love with you, I do not, like, feel that way for you, I'm sorry, like, you need to tell her that, or you replicate those things. And Gray has been in the middle. He's either like, get away from me, you psychopath, or like, no, you're a friend and I care about you, or maybe there's something else out there. And like, they had a touching moment at the end of Taurus, and then the thing where it's like, what's happening to Gray right now is that his face is all transformed, like his arm has gone all black, like it's all reaching the top of his face, and it's like, what's going on with Gray right now? People remember that's what Gray used when he was fighting against Mardgear, when he was there with like teaming up with Natsu, and he like with the Ice Devil like Slayer stuff that he acquired from his father Silver. Then like where it's like, okay, what's going on? And apparently like since this has been a year, 6 months during this and all that, he just flat out left Julia and like didn't let him know anything what was going on. So for 6 months, Julia's kind of been in this in and out period of like, oh, he did this time to time where he would just leave and he hasn't come back since for about 6 months, and it's like, what the fuck, you know, like it's like what's going on right now. And it's like it pretty much implied as well that Julia has an Aussie. She's clearly been out of it and kind of nearly kind of given up what with Gray kind of returning like. So overall, like when you get to see that, it's like she's got a fever, like she clearly has not been eating, she's ill, she's just been standing in the rain the entire time like that, just waiting for Gray to like come back, and you know nothing's happened. And we find out where he's been, where we get introduced to Avatar. Yay! So here's the thing about Avatar, which to basically set them up where you're like, oh, so that's who they are, and you're like, they are the third part of the Baram Alliance of Grimrar Heart, Tartarus, and finally Avatar. So there's a bit of credentials to them when you hear hear that name, where you're like, oh, so they're the third party then. Like, what was going on? Like, these guys that have been set up for so long, and you get to see a lot of them, like a bunch of weirdos to say the least. Like, because you go think like, okay, you got Hades on there, like, who was one of the second guild master of Fairy Tail. Like, he was a very powerful wizard alongside being able to teach people God Slayer magic, and he was the closest to getting to, you know, the one magic, the depths of magic. He was an extremely powerful man. Like, we saw, like, and, like, what he wanted to do with Azereth, especially, like, all of them, all that, everything I do for this, with, like, you know, the Book of Azereth, and for everything, like, his powers. You get Tartarus, which are from the Book of Azereth itself, which are his demons, like, or his creations that have turned into an entire guild, like. And then the third part is a cult that worshipped him. There's like each part of them will like, have some sort of ties and attachments to Azereth, like on there, which is like kind of inspiring. It's you can kind of see with each and every one of the Dark Guilds. And I find it interesting is that, especially with like, you go Tenrojima, then you have the time skip of the Grand Magic Games, which is like, it slightly mentions, like, has some stuff where it's like, oh, maybe this character might be related to Azereth or something, or it's like, oh, it might be involved with there. But ever since then, you go, literally, you have, like, the big Dark Guild, which is Tenro. Then you have, like, Grand Magic Games, which doesn't have that. You take a break from that. You go Tartarus, and then you go straight to Avatar / like, you know, the mini arc that we just had, like, going through, where it's like, you go straight to two of the big Baram alliances on there. And I feel like if the series wanted to, like, stay and, like, continue going on a little bit longer, or, like, handle it, you could have actually done something with this guild, I feel. Like, but again, like, even still, you're like, oh shit, like, like, again, it's kind of setting up on that table where it's like, oh my god, they're dealing with another Dark Guild already, and fucking Gray's there. Like, you're like, Gray has seemingly betrayed them and actually gone to the side. Like, his hair's all slicked back, Eisen style, like, he's got the mark around him, like, what is going on with him right now? You're kind of wondering what's happening with Gray now, and it's like, then we go and see that, like, Natsu, he's like, I want to trust Gray about what his decisions and everything is. Like, he still doesn't know the full picture and all everything what's going on, but he's like, clearly something's up, because he even knows as well with that transformation that, like, he did, and like, maybe, I wonder if that has something to do with that. Thinking back about on that, because since Julia brought it up, it has to be something about we went against Mardgear. I need to go and confirm something. I'm gonna go to Sabretooth. Wendy, you stay here, look after Julia, like, take care of her. Charlotte, you stay here as well for protection. So they go there, they go over and see Sabretooth, and you're like, oh hey, like, hey guys, and all that. It's, nice to see all you guys again. There's like the head jokes and all that. You get to see Yukino, you get to see Olga, you get to see all the guys there. and it was like, oh, screw you, Sting, we need to go and see Rogue right now. Rogue's the one I need to talk to. And apparently there's some important information, and Minerva's there. And I was going to say, this is the one thing that I felt weird about this episode, where I was like, again, like, it's apparently you're going to be seeing some redesigns on characters and everything, or like, you know, especially I've noticed a few notable redesigns on a few characters, or there's a few little changes, or like, whether it be facial structure, or like, just how some characters are. But Minerva, when I saw her, I was like, you look completely fucking different from like what you did from like season 1 and 2. Like, I mean, you saw her at like the back end of like season 1, and it's like, and you look at her like in season 2, and you're like, alright, you know, that's still Minerva and everything, and it's like her, and like, maybe it might just because she hasn't got the giant makeup and lipstick on her and all that, and she just looks like in a normal like her dress and all that, but she looks super different to me, and I'm like, is that the same fucking character at this point? Like, it was just a weird little thing on there, and there was a nice little moment where it's like, you know, you get to see a little bit more of Natsu and Lucy's relationship kind of grow a little bit. Even like Julia mentions that at some point as well, like the two of them need to stop flirting, and like even when they're traveling, just like Sabretooth and all that, they have this really nice moment of like Natsu putting a lot of faith in Lucy, where it's like, I need you to kind of like trust me on this, and it's like and again, it was something I saw like kind of that they're starting to evolve, and I think Dragon Cry goes a little bit more into it as well. With their relationship, and whilst they're having like this conversation, we get to find out that one big thing about this is that Future Rogue told this is like a year in your time that Grey is apparently going to be the reason why Rogue becomes the person he is, because he killed his cat. Yes. Apparently, Grey in this time, around this timeline, kills Frosh, so you're like, oh no, my kitty cat, I'm a fucking, you know, go be a time traveler and murder people, because that, you know, that's what I fucking do and unleash dragons, you know, that's what, you know, when my cat dies, you know, that's clearly what I do, like, I clearly just fuck people up, like, and, you know, the entire timeline, but, you know, that's how villains, again, they should have never really give Rogue an excuse. He should have just been fucking insane at that point after like what happened to Dragons Unleashing, but no, that's the excuse we have. My kitty cat died. Again, I know the excuse is supposed to be more like people, but it's a fucking cat. At the end of the day, it's still stupid, no matter how you defend it. Which ends up with Lucy and Natsu now going to Avatar, so you're going to see that, and the big reason why Grey's there, because apparently with some of the Avatar members, they don't trust him still, they don't like, don't really see him, like, they think they've got a spy in their midst at the moment, which is like, everyone's pointing fingers at Grey at the moment, and it's like, well, I'm telling you guys right now, I don't give a fuck about you, I don't give a fuck about Zareth, I am here for E&D, and I'm like, that's what he's talking about, and he's like, everyone's like, oh, look how dark Grey is gone, like, you know, look at that, like, I can tell the savagery in his eyes, and he's like, this is clearly what he wants. So he wants Aetherius, Natsu, Dragoneel like on there, which again, he hasn't got the full like context about the E&D yet, I believe, yet in the series. So yeah, look forward to that, and you can see by next episode that they're gonna have a clash of some sort. So overall, I thought this episode was fine. I enjoyed it. Like I had fun. Like it was a lot of setting up stuff on there. It was quite like the art was always on a point. I felt like it was a very stiff episode though. I felt that there wasn't a lot of like really good composition shots or anything going on in the mist. It was just mainly just a bunch of torsos talking to one another, and again, it was like still fun seeing some of the characters here and there, but it wasn't like a very energetic episode, I should say, for the most part, with some of the things going on. But it was still nice. Like, again, I would rather like, there's like one scene I think that looked like a little weird where they were like in the rain talking and they just looked in a distance on there. But I mean, overall, it still looked consistently good and all that, and there hasn't been a one episode yet really of this of the show where it's been like, this is just looks fucking bad and it's like on a budget or something like that. So again, it's still very early on and they're clearly sailing it, but it's like you could have had a little bit more things going on with this episode, I felt. But then again, like, it's fucking Tartarus, so I don't know, don't waste the fucking money on the Tartarus arc. So overall, you're gonna see why we people don't like this arc pretty soon on that, I will say. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about what you thought about this episode, especially a fairy tale. But that's all for me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys though next time.